The year 2004 proved to be a pivotal time for Sonic Team. At this point, SEGA was thriving off of the success of the Sonic Adventure and Sonic Advance games. In addition, young fans were raving about the premiere of Sonic X. In December of 2003, SEGA released Sonic Heroes in Japan and later released the game worldwide on January 6, 2004. 6 days after the worldwide release of Sonic Heroes, SEGA released another Sonic game for North America. Sonic Battle was released on January 12, 2004 for the Game Boy Advance. Sonic Battle was a completely different game compared to Sonic's 2D and 3D platformers in the early 2000s. Sonic Battle is a fighting game that introduces the combat styles of staple modern Sonic characters. This game is known for its fluid fighting animations and story mode. Sonic Battle was a completely new experience to many Sonic fans. However, this was not Sonic's first fighting game. SEGA has dipped their toes with Sonic the Fighters, a game that was released in arcades in 1996. Battle does share a couple of similarities with Sonic the Fighters, but for the most part, Battle was unique in its own way. Although quite a few fans and video game critics have compared Sonic Battle to Nintendo's Super Smash Bros. I personally have a hard time finding the similarities between both games, other than they're both fighting games. Sure, you could say that each Sonic character's moveset is tailored to their well-known abilities like in Super Smash Bros., but all characters in every fighting game have their individual movesets. I suppose it's the timing of Battle's release that makes people compare it to Smash Bros. Nintendo's most recent Smash Bros. Game, Melee, was released in 2001 on the GameCube. While Sonic Battle may not have the same appeal as Melee, it still has its own identity and a cult following. For a Game Boy Advance game, Sonic Battle was highly innovative in terms of graphics. The Sonic characters themselves are 2D sprites, but they could move in a 3D plane, and you can even rotate the camera to showcase different angles of each stage. In addition, there was the inclusion of geometric platforms to give each arena more depth. Sonic Battle also had a unique art direction compared to what we've seen from other games and designs. The art style for Sonic Battle is very novel, and there hasn't been anything like it in the Sonic series since. The best comparison I can give is it's like the artwork for the Mario Strikers series. It looks rough and edgy, but there's a lot of charm to it. In terms of video games, there really wasn't anything like it at the time. The art style also reminds me of the Disney show American Dragon Jake Long. Am I the only one who feels this way? There's not much in terms of sales information, but it doesn't appear to have sold anywhere near the amount of copies as Sonic Advance 1 and 2. Which does make sense, but it's also a huge shame, because Sonic Battle, in my opinion, is one of the best written Sonic games out there. Sonic Battle received mixed to generally positive reviews from mainstream video game critics. YouTube video essays and reviews covering Sonic Battle have mixed coverage as well. A lot of fans and critics say this game is repetitive and limited in nature, but were impressed with the innovative graphics and story. How does it hold up nearly 20 years later? In terms of the battle arena graphics, some stages still look really good, like Emerald Beach and Club Rouge, but others haven't aged so gracefully in my opinion. Metal Depot and Battle Highway are a bit drab. However, the 2D sprite animations are very clean and fluid. Sonic characters performing a 4-hit combo looks good and feels good. We get to see what each Sonic character is capable of in a battle, and it makes them that much stronger for it. I have a lot of personal memories of Sonic Battle. In 2004, I was in love with Sonic. He was all I could ever think about. I even tried to run like him with my arms back. I honestly thought it would make me faster. My timeline of events for Sonic Battle doesn't exactly line up with the North American release date. I actually discovered Sonic Battle after Sonic Advance 3. I think I got Sonic Battle around the summer or fall of 2004, and my 8-year-old brain thought, oh, this must have been released a couple days ago. For that reason, I thought the events of Sonic Battle took place after Sonic Advance 3, but that wasn't true at all. And I didn't even find out until I was a teenager. One day, I was with my dad and he needed to run to Target. Of course, the first thing I asked was if I could go look at the games. As soon as I got permission, I was off to the video game aisle. Looking at the video game aisle at Target and Walmart was so exciting for me as a kid. You saw all the brand new games behind this glass wall, all boxed and sealed perfectly. The Game Boy Advance SP was out in full display, and if you wanted something, you had to ask the cashier. Or, well, your parents had to ask the cashier. I specifically looked at the Game Boy Advance games and didn't care about the other consoles. I don't know if anyone else remembers this, but at the time, there were a lot of TV shows and movies that had their own Game Boy Advance games, and they would be on the shelves, full display, like the other gaming franchises. I didn't just play Sonic at the time. I had Shrek 2, Kim Possible, Scooby-Doo 2, and a SpongeBob game. I got the Incredibles game when it came out. Nowadays, if you look at Nintendo Switch games, you see the staple Nintendo IPs, Sonic, and other third-party or indie games. For better or worse, you don't really see shows and movies branching into their own video games anymore. I bring this up because I want to set the stage and give you an idea of what it was like to look at the video game aisle back in the early 2000s. The fact that these TV show and movie games were competing with big video game icons like Mario, Sonic, and The Legend of Zelda was pretty wild. A lot of these games didn't have very good reviews, but they still managed to be some of the best-selling Game Boy Advance games. Anyway, going back to the day I discovered Sonic Battle, on that fateful day as I was looking at the Game Boy Advance games, there it was, sitting on the shelf with the other TV and movie games surrounding it. I was immediately drawn to the box art. Sonic looks so cool, but who is this other character? He looks so mysterious and powerful. I have to get this game. I need to see this new character and how he plays. Of course, I begged my dad and asked, "Can I please get this game? Pretty please?" My dad was feeling generous and he bought the game for me. I was so happy and excited. I could not wait to go home and play this game. I wasn't sure what to expect, but based on the box art, I knew Sonic Battle was not going to be your average Sonic game. I was immediately charmed when I played this game for the first time. The music was so distinct compared to what I heard from the Sonic Advance trilogy. Sonic Battle's soundtrack is very rock-heavy. Despite the limitations of the Game Boy Advance's sound chip, the composers managed to make the best of it. As an 8-year-old little girl, everything about this game felt so edgy to me. The music, the artwork, the story. Sonic Battle is rated E for everyone, but to me it felt like this game was meant for older kids to enjoy. And because of that, I felt cool having this game. I admired all of the character animations and fighting styles. I thought the artwork looked super cool. You start off with 8 playable characters, and I had to play as all of them and see each of their movesets. Playing this game was so satisfying, and I played for hours. This is my Sonic Battle save file. Yeah, I know. Now, this doesn't reflect the time I played when I was 8 years old. I did play a lot as a teenager as well, and even more when I was recording gameplay footage for this game. But I just want the record to show that I spent a lot of time on this game, and I love and adore Sonic Battle so much. I remember spending a lot of time in battle mode. I played as every single character and experimented with each of their abilities. Sonic Battle has a total of 10 playable characters. In battle mode, you can choose to play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Amy, Rouge, Cream, and newcomer Emerl. You can also unlock Chaos and Gamma from the story mode. You can select up to 4 characters for every round, and you can edit the rules to how you please. You can play in teams, you could do survival mode, or you could just do free play. Before the battle begins, you have to select 1 ground attack and 1 aerial attack. You can perform these special moves by pressing the R button. There are 3 types of attacks you can select. The first one is the shot attack, which is a long-range attack. The second is the power attack, which is limited in range but is the strongest move of the 3. And the last one is the set attack. Your character will place an explosive trap and it will explode upon impact when your other opponents touch it. However, you can't select 2 of the same type. For example, you can't choose power for both your ground and aerial moves. You can only choose one of each. The special attack that you don't pick will be set as your guard, meaning you're immune to any of those attacks. For example, if you don't choose the set attack, you'll instantly block any explosive traps that come your way. Once you select your moves, your character will say a witty one-liner and the most satisfying sound effect plays.
Time to party!
Let's see what you got. Okay, time to fly!
I'll show you my ultimate power.
I can't tell you how much I loved listening to every character and that battle sound effect as a kid. And yes, Sonic Battle incorporated a little bit of voice acting for each character. Sonic Battle and Sonic Advance 3 were the first games that I heard the voiceovers for. And despite not having a lot of voice acting compared to other Sonic games, it still left a huge impression on me. I've always gravitated towards Ryan Drummond, David Humphries, and the other Dreamcast era voice actors. I know, I have a nostalgia bias, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit that. Every character has their perks and their drawbacks. For example, Shadow is the fastest character in the game. Yeah, I know. But he is slow with healing, and his shot and trap attacks are not as powerful compared to other characters. Cream the Rabbit, on the other hand, is much slower compared to Sonic and Shadow, but her shot and power attacks are one of the best in this game. She can also fly, making it easier to evade. For those reasons, I think she's one of the best characters to play as. Amy Rose is another character that's not to be messed with. She's skilled in boxercise, and that hammer attack is the reason why you get last place. Rouge is another great character to play as. She can attack while flying for an indefinite amount of time. I played as her a lot as a kid, and she is still my most played character. Now, there are a couple of characters that aren't so great to play as. For example, Chaos is powerful, but he's slow as molasses. Knuckles, we'll get to that later. The yellow meter on the top left is the amount of health you have. As soon as the meter is drained, you get knocked out. If it's survival mode, you lose 1 life. But if it's your standard battle mode, your opponent gains 1 point. You can prevent yourself from getting knocked out by healing your character any chance you get. If you hold down the L button, your character can heal and replenish their health. Depending on the character you pick, you may quickly regain full health or just a fraction of it. For example, Cream, Gamma, and Chaos are very fast healers, but Sonic and Shadow are very slow healers. Like I mentioned before, each character has their own perks and drawbacks. When you're knocked out, you're taken back to the special attack options. You have the opportunity to pick other special attacks, or you could go with what you originally picked. You also get to pick out where you want to spawn when you get back into the arena. But I swear, no matter where you go, the AI just knows where you are. On top of the yellow meter, there's another meter that shows these green dots. According to the Sonic Battle Manual, it's called the Ichikoro gauge. Now, I'm not fluent in Japanese in any way, and I sincerely apologize if I mispronounced that. But from what I've seen, Ichikoro means being trounced or losing easily, which is a fitting name for this meter. You can heal yourself to help build up this meter, but again, depending on which character you have, it might build up really quickly or very slowly. Getting attacked is a quick way to get the meter filled as well. When your Ichikoro gauge is full, your character will have this flashing animation. The next time you use your special attack, you can potentially instant KO your opponents. But as soon as you use your special move, your gauge is drained and you have to build it back up again. You have a 2/3 chance to knock out your opponent. For example, if you use a power attack with a full meter and your opponent chose that attack, bam, instant knockout. If they didn't choose that special attack, then they'll block it and they have the power to potentially knock you out. It feels very satisfying to instant KO your opponents, especially if you're doing a 10 knockout round. As a kid, I really liked the battle arenas, and I loved how it was specific for each character. My favorite ones in particular were Emerald Beach, Club Rouge, Amy's Room, and the library. I especially loved the music for every arena. The music was also fitting for each character. Aside from the change in scenery, the only difference you'll see is the platform layout. There are no stage hazards per se, but each stage's platform layout can provide extra challenge. For example, in Amy's Room, you can get knocked around quite a bit with the amount of furniture there is. Same with Club Rouge. This battle arena has a few walls that are meant to look like pinball flippers. There are no items in this game to help you. You're just relying on your own skills. Again, I can't emphasize enough on how gratifying it feels when you're dominating a battle. It's a combination of everything. The clean fighting animations, every single sound effect, the little bits of voice acting, the catchy music. When your character is on a streak, they'll laugh or taunt the other opponents. When Shadow is winning, he does like a cute little chuckle. When Amy's on a streak, she calls everyone a loser. Tails' victory taunt is really cute. Also, hearing your rivals being knocked out felt really good to listen to. Sonic and Shadow's knockout in particular sounds really funny to me because it seems like they weren't expecting to be defeated. Tails' knockout. It's like that noise you make when you don't want to get out of bed. And of course, the battle ends with the winning character celebrating. Sonic just says, simple but satisfying. I think Tails' victory line is really cute. I really love Knuckles' victory. Yes, that feels good. And I also love Shadow's didn't even break a sweat. Ugh, so smug. And of course, Cream the Rabbit, she has my favorite victory cheer. Super cute. Sonic Battle also has a challenge mode. You play through 5 rounds for each character. To win a round, you have to be the first to get 10 knockouts. I played through challenge mode quite a bit as a kid. I love the jingle that plays before you start a round. It sounds so energetic and fierce. Each character's challenge will be different compared to the rest. The characters they fight are kind of fitting. As a kid, I like to believe that there was some story behind each challenge mode. I still like to believe that as an adult. For example, in Amy's challenge mode, the last person she has to fight is Sonic. And in Sonic's challenge mode, the first person he has to fight is Amy, while the last person he has to fight is Shadow. And Chaos and Gamma. Shadow's challenge mode will have him battling Tails and Knuckles in his first round, and then he battles Sonic in the second round. It's as if Sonic was avenging his teammates, but in Shadow's last round, he has to fight all 3 of them, which is pretty exciting. This comes as no surprise, but my personal favorite is Cream. She has to fight Sonic and Shadow in her very first round. Something about that is just hilarious to me. This had to have been done on purpose. I'd like to believe that this was Sonic Team subtly confirming that Cream and Cheese are powerful enough to defeat Sonic and Shadow. Why do I enjoy beating up Sonic and Shadow as Cream the Rabbit? Like, it's just really entertaining. Especially when she does her little victory cheer at the end.
I won!
In her last round, she has to fight Chaos and Gamma. That is one powerful bun. Before I discuss the story mode, I'd like to briefly cover Sonic Battle's other features. In addition to challenge mode, Sonic Battle has minigames. Now, I never had the chance to play any of the multiplayer minigames because I'm the only person I know that plays Sonic Battle, but I have played Knuckles Mine Hunt, which is basically Minesweeper. I never beat it. I'm actually really bad at these types of games. The other minigames are Shadow, Tails, and Amy related, but once again, I unfortunately have never had the chance to play these games. There's also a training section. It's basically there to help you get a feel for the controls for every character. You can have your opponent do nothing, walk, jump, or attack. There really isn't much to it aside from getting a feel for the controls in each battle arena. You can also look at your battle record. It shows how much time you've spent on the game, your most played character, your least played character, and the amount of knockouts you've given and received. And of course, you can listen to the sound test in the options menu. I can't tell you how much time I spent just doing this as a kid.
Yes!
All right.
The soundtrack is great to listen to, but again, there was something really satisfying about the sound effects. One of the big reasons why I adore Sonic Battle so much is because of the story mode. From my observation, it's what most fans enjoy about this game. In terms of the timeline, Sonic Battle takes place after Sonic Heroes and arguably Shadow the Hedgehog, though Shadow the Hedgehog wouldn't be released until a year later. Sonic Battle was the first game where I was introduced to characters like Rouge and Shadow, and this was how I really got to know the Sonic cast as a kid. As someone who had only played the advanced games, I never got to see how each Sonic character would interact with each other, or even speak in full sentences for that matter. And I believe I got this game before discovering Sonic X. In my opinion, Sonic Battle has the strongest character writing in any Sonic game. Well, for most of the characters. In the story mode, you have 8 different characters to play as: Sonic, Tails, Rouge, Knuckles, Amy, Cream, Shadow, and last but not least, Emerl. In the process of making this video, I went back and forth on how I wanted to discuss the story. In my previous videos, I talked about the highlights and memorable moments of the games I've covered. I didn't feel the need to talk through the entire plot because those games are pretty well known among their respective fan bases. But given that Sonic Battle is a lore-heavy game and not very well known within the Sonic community, I want to talk through the entire story and what I love about it. I'm not going to cover every single character interaction, but I want to shine a spotlight on the phenomenal character writing and storytelling, and even bring attention to some of the more contentious aspects of the story. Beginning with Sonic's story, Emerl, or the Gizoid, was sealed and misplaced over 50 years ago and was later discovered by Dr. Eggman. Eggman also found journal logs from his late grandfather, Professor Gerald Robotnik, and learned that Emerl had the ability to harness an immense amount of power. However, Eggman couldn't find a way to get Emerl to work, so he tossed him out on the beach, later to be discovered by Sonic. Our adventure begins in Emerald Town. Emerald Town has a peaceful neighborhood next to the beach. Tails' house and lab are located there. I love that Tails' home is in the shape of his face. Also, this 8-year-old kid owns real estate. Damn. Emerald Beach is also located there. You can see familiar Green Hill terrain and quite a few houses and shops. The encyclopedia describes it as, quote, coastal suburbs just outside the downtown area. I love the layout of this hub world. It seems like a very low-key town, and honestly, I would love to live there. The music sounds bright and cheery. Overall, Emerald Town is a very nice, cute map and gives us a taste of the world building. Sonic is hanging out on the beach. He's bored and is yearning for some excitement. Instead of excitement, he sees a lonesome robot sitting there. Sonic attempts to interact with this robot, but doesn't get many responses out of it. It isn't until the robot tries to communicate this fractured sentence: show power, or I shall obey, shall conquer all. Sonic hears this and jokingly punches the air. By doing this, Sonic was the first character to establish a link with Emerl and become his master by showing him a form of power. From this point forward, Emerl is attached to Sonic and will stick by him for the rest of his life. Little does Sonic know of the chain of events that are about to take place. Sonic then takes Emerl to Tails' house down the street. After Sonic and Emerl leave, we see Rouge the Bat make her first appearance. Unfortunately for Miss Rouge, she was too slow and couldn't establish the first link with Emerl. Why does she want Emerl so bad? We'll find more about that later. As Sonic shows Emerl Tails' house, he gets interrupted by none other than Shadow the Hedgehog. We're just a few minutes into the story mode and we already run into Shadow. For some reason, Shadow is hell-bent on destroying Emerl. Sonic refuses to hand him over, and Shadow has no choice but to fight Sonic himself. And with that, we have our first battle. Most of the battles in the story mode take place in Battle Highway, an arena that's located on, well, you guessed it, a highway. Though there are no cars driving by. There are a few pillars you can stand on, and because of the layout, you can find ways to hide from your opponents. As I mentioned before, I feel that Battle Highway's graphics didn't age so gracefully, but I think it's mainly due to the abundance of gray colors being used. When you look at Battle Highway from an isometric angle, you can see the bridge, the streets, and get a better understanding of what the developers were trying to go for. It's one of those things that look better on paper, but it's still an intriguing design. The music is very rock heavy and sounds quite intense. It's very fitting for Shadow's character, and I played this arena a lot just to listen to the track. This is a 3 knockout battle, and Shadow is pretty easy to defeat. Again, we'll find more about that later. After the battle, Emerl emits a bright flashing light and captures one fighting move from Sonic and Shadow. Shadow comments how he hasn't gained his full power back. He then demands Sonic to listen to him. He tells Sonic to take care of Emerl while he's away and that he'll be back soon. Sonic is quite perplexed by this encounter. He calls out for Shadow and asks how Eggman is involved, but Shadow is long gone. Tails rushes over to Sonic and asks if everything is okay and what Sonic is doing with this random robot. Sonic, always being in a hurry, doesn't provide many details and asks Tails to fix Emerl for him. He heads to the beach to confront Rouge, and Tails has the cutest face. A lot of the character expressions are so good in this game. Sonic arrives at the beach and Rouge says hello to him. Sonic, being quick to the point, asks her what she wants. Rouge gets offended about how Sonic is treating her. Yeah, Sonic. Is that how you greet a beautiful woman? Sonic doesn't have time for the small talk, especially because he, quote, has enough girls chasing him as it is. Isn't that just Amy? I guess one girl is too much for Sonic. Rouge proposes a little wager. If she wins, Sonic has to team up with her. Of course, Sonic, being an arrogant little shit, tells her that if you want a date, you have to wait in line. Rouge comments how it's quite the line. Shadow, Eggman, her boss, they all want to date Sonic? I'm kidding. They all want to date the robot. Anyway, the reason why Rouge wants Sonic to team up with her is so she can have access to Emerl. Sonic cannot help himself and says, "Isn't it too early to get romantic? Get over yourself." Anyway, we have 2 battles with Rouge. After being defeated, Rouge tries to save face and say that Sonic's had enough for the day. She makes her exit, and Sonic is astonished at how popular this random robot is. He goes to Tails' lab to check up on the two. While Sonic was battling Rouge, Tails learns that Emerl has the ability to capture his opponent's skills and perform them perfectly in battle. Tails tells Sonic to try performing specific attacks with Emerl. We then see how Emerl captures those abilities and can now perform them. You can customize Emerl's moveset by pressing the R button. As you fight more battles, Emerl will capture one move from every character he's in battle with. In the beginning, you are slightly limited as you only have a certain amount of skill points you can use, but that grows the more you progress through the story. You can customize every single move with the skills you unlocked thus far. Not only that, there are some really interesting tidbits of information about each character and how they learned that skill. For example, Rouge underwent a lot of combat training when she was hired to work for the president. We also learned that Sonic incorporates his breakdancing moves into his fighting. Apparently, Knuckles is an earthbender. Cream the Rabbit's healing information is by far the most intriguing to me. Through the pureness of her heart, Cream can heal faster than any other character. I'm telling you, Cream is overpowered. I always liked reading these as a kid, and I especially like reading them now as an adult. It's just a neat way to learn the origins of each character's combat style. Tails also learns that Emerl becomes stronger when he absorbs Chaos Emeralds. The 3 continue to train at Tails' lab and Emerald Beach. This is also where Sonic comes up with the name Emerl, short for emeralds. Yes, how clever. Tails gets the idea to go visit Knuckles in the Holy Summit and ask for his Chaos Emerald. The Holy Summit is located north of Emerald Town and where Knuckles lives, and I'm assuming where he guards the Master Emerald. Like Emerald Town, I was very intrigued by this map as a kid. It's as if Holy Summit was on the outskirts of civilization. You can see Knuckles' house, the Chow ruins, and the Emerald Shrine. I also liked the view of the ocean and thought this area was really pretty. The music for Holy Summit is very tranquil, but also sounds solemn in a way. This is a complete contrast to the Chao Ruins music, which sounds very brash and energetic. The Chao Ruins is Knuckles' arena, so the stage music is more fitting to his character. The Chao Ruins have patches of grass, and there are stone pillars around the ruins. You can see Chao hieroglyphics on the stone pillars. Very interesting. Sonic, Tails, and Emerl run into another Eggman robot. Both of them believe it's Gamma from Sonic Adventure, but this is a completely different robot. While he was built from Gamma's remains, he doesn't have the same memories or consciousness that Gamma did. This Gamma is not programmed with empathy, and he immediately engages in battle with Sonic and Tails. After defeating him, Sonic and Tails head to Knuckles' house. Sonic casually asks Knuckles for his Chaos Emerald, but Knuckles notices Emerl and confuses him for Eggman's Phi robots. He immediately wants to fight him and won't listen to Sonic, but Sonic believes Emerl can handle a fight with Knuckles on his own and can prove himself. So you battle Knuckles as Emerl, and it's a pretty easy fight. Well, at least when you update Emerl's battle features. Knuckles accepts his defeat and retrieves his Chaos Emerald. Knuckles asks Sonic what Emerl is, and Sonic tells him that he doesn't know. Knuckles immediately gets angry and assumes that Sonic is lying to him, but Sonic and Tails explain that they really don't know anything about Emerl. But what they do know is that Eggman, Rouge, and Shadow all want Emerl for their own reasons. Knuckles is baffled and wants to know what exactly this robot is and why so many people want it, but he begrudgingly gives his Chaos Emerald to Emerl. Team Sonic watches him absorb the first Chaos Emerald. To Sonic's surprise, Emerl speaks and thanks him. Tails notes that his speech and fighting abilities will improve as he collects more Chaos Emeralds. They continue to observe Emerl as he repeats the word battle. This was the beginning of a new adventure. By the end of each chapter, you will read a journal entry written by Professor Gerald Robotnik. In his first journal entry, Gerald states that he discovered a robot in the warehouse. Along with the robot, Professor Gerald recovered an ancient stone tablet that he's trying to translate. He believes it's some type of puppet or robot created by an ancient civilization. He even theorizes that Emerl could have been responsible for destroying the Fourth Great Civilization, but isn't so sure yet. These journal logs add more mystery to Emerl's past and how the story will unfold. Sonic's story does a great job with laying out the settings and establishing most of the characters. As a kid, I couldn't wait to experience more of the story and find out what was going to happen next. As the story progresses, you learn more about Emerl's history and how he was developed. In Tails' story, we get a first glimpse of Emerl's origin and discover that he was created as a war machine. When Tails tries to scan Emerl with his tech, his computer unexpectedly crashes and he decides to take Emerl to the central lab located in Central City. This map is located east of Emerald Town. Of course, being a city, there are lots of buildings in the area. However, the main ones we visit are the Blue Tower, which contains the central lab, and a pink building, which is where Amy lives. If you look closely, you can see part of the highway on the right-hand side. There's a Sonic sign next to the government building, and there's a little Sonic Team billboard at the bottom of the map. Central City's music really charmed me as a kid. It's a very chill tune, but it also sounds snazzy and glamorous. To me, it fits that modern and trendy aesthetic that I imagined with city life. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who feels this way, but Sonic games have always perfected the glamorous city aesthetic that a lot of people romanticize, myself included. The Encyclopedia's description of Central City validates how I feel about the hub world. Simply put, it is the glimmering city center outside of Emerald Town. I always find myself being drawn to Sonic's city levels, and Central City is no exception. Tails assures Sonic that he and Emerl can go on their own and handle themselves just fine. Although Tails does show a little bit of self-doubt. Unfortunately, the central lab can only be accessed by government personnel. But luckily for Tails, he runs into Rouge, who just so happens to have that type of access. The writing is pretty funny. It cracks me up when Tails tells Rouge, "You're so mean to us, and I shouldn't be talking to strangers." Rouge is trying really hard to be in Tails' good graces. They have a battle, and Rouge gives Tails her lab pass so he can access the central lab. As he hooks Emerl into the computer, he learns about Emerl's history as a war machine. This is where things go awry. Tails unknowingly accessed confidential data, and this triggers the security alarms. Tails and Emerl have to fight guard robos and escape the lab, but they're not free from battles just yet. As soon as they escape the central lab, Tails and Emerl run into Shadow. In my opinion, this is a very rare and interesting exchange between Tails and Shadow. Shadow questions why Tails doesn't destroy Emerl now that he's aware of how dangerous he can be. Shadow urges Tails to destroy Emerl before it's too late and says that there's no reason to repeat past tragedies. But Tails sticks to his ground and tells Shadow that Emerl is his friend and he's not going to do that. The next thing Shadow says always stuck with me. The builders will never know how their creations truly feel. Shadow definitely intrigued me as a kid, because at first he seemed like a bad guy, but then actually, no, he may be a good guy. And again, I didn't play Sonic Adventure 2 at the time or even know what it was, so this was my first time seeing Shadow and trying to figure out just who he is and what side he's truly on. After the Shadow battle, Rouge interjects and tells all three to leave the premises before more guard robos are on their way. Rouge then proceeds to punch Shadow to prove that he hasn't recovered from his strength. I just find that so hilarious. Rouge and Shadow make their exit, and Tails is surprised that Rouge has been so helpful towards him. Tails and Emerl are able to escape by heading back to the entrance of the Holy Summit. Poor Knuckles makes the mistake of greeting Emerl first because he gets ignored. This irritates Knuckles, as he's not a fan of Emerl being rude to him. Tails interjects and tells him that there's no time for fooling around. Because Emerl has a link with Tails, he chimes in and repeats Tails' words. This makes Knuckles angry that Emerl now decides to speak. I'm not sure if this was intentional on Emerl's part, but it seems like he's mocking Knuckles. Knuckles isn't having it, and he battles Emerl. After their little fight, Tails urges Knuckles to come with him to Emerald Beach so he can share what he learned about Emerl with Sonic. Knuckles accepts, but he notices Gamma blocking the bridge. They have no other choice but to fight Gamma. Despite facing both a 5 and 10 knockout battle, Gamma is able to recover any damage and can battle again. Knuckles fights off Gamma to let Tails and Emerl escape to Emerald Town. Finally, Tails makes it back and can reveal the news to Sonic. But Rouge cuts in the conversation and breaks the bad news about Emerl being a deadly weapon. Sonic doesn't want to believe this and thinks he's just an ordinary robot that could be fixed. Rouge shares that if Emerl absorbs all 7 Chaos Emeralds, they can erase his battle weapon data and make him an ordinary robot. Sonic questions Rouge's motives and asks why she's openly giving them all this information. Rouge gets offended by Sonic's insinuations and insists that she is a good person and does good deeds. Tails admits that Rouge helped him a lot while he was in Central City. Sonic is in disbelief, but Rouge explains that she only wants Emerl to listen to her. I like how she corrects herself. She initially calls Emerl it, but then immediately switches to his preferred pronouns just to maintain her caring facade. Rouge finally convinces Sonic to have Emerl listen to her, and with that, she makes her exit. Sonic is completely bewildered. Knuckles finally shows up and wonders what just happened. He asks Emerl if Rouge pulled any tricks on him, but Emerl does not respond. Of course, this infuriates Knuckles, and Sonic teases him over it. He encourages Emerl to keep ignoring Knuckles, and Emerl, of course, plays along. Sonic and Knuckles duke it out while Tails is sitting in the back wishing the fighting would just end. In Professor Gerald's second entry, he can no longer ignore the possibility that Emerl, or the Gizoid, destroyed the Fourth Great Civilization. He notices the Gizoid mimicking his movements and even crashes his computer like he did with Tails. Gerald realizes that he has made a huge mistake waking up the Gizoid because of the potential of it absorbing modern weaponry. Again, Professor Gerald's entries keep the players guessing on what will happen next. Rouge's story. Now, I was surprised to see Rouge's story next. I thought her story would be later in the game after Shadow, but I wasn't complaining because I was really interested in her character as a kid. Rouge is such a badass in this game. In the beginning of her story, we learn how she found out about Emerl. Rouge's boss, the president, I know, right? Such a baddie. Asked Rouge to find additional information about the Gazoid since it's been recovered by Dr. Eggman. By doing some research, Rouge discovers the Gazoid is more than just a battle weapon and can even assist with finding jewels. Rouge immediately takes interest in this and wants to train the Gazoid herself. She then finds Eggman and learns that he tossed Emerl away at Emerald Beach. And of course, this is where Rouge meets up with Sonic and tries to take Emerl from him. Fast forward to current events, and Rouge can finally train Emerl to be her very own jewel thief, since Sonic gave Emerl permission to listen to Rouge's commands. She heads to the beach and waits for the right moment to steal Emerl. Amy makes her first appearance in Rouge's story, and she's caught up looking for Sonic. Sonic panics and runs away. He lets Emerl know to just listen to Amy, I guess to avoid any trouble with her. Amy runs into Tails and demands him to tell her where Sonic is hiding. She then notices Emerl for the first time and wonders what he is. Tails tries to explain that Sonic is watching after Emerl, kind of like a kid, but Amy mistakenly believes that Sonic is trying to prepare for fatherhood and wants Amy to be the mother. Funny enough, I started disliking Amy because of how she was written in this game. As a kid, I found her obsession with Sonic to be overbearing and annoying. At this point, I just couldn't see her as the love interest for Sonic anymore. In fact, I started to think that Sonic probably wouldn't end up with any girl, based on how he talked to Rouge and avoid Amy every chance he could. Not that I would blame him, I wouldn't want to be forced to marry someone, let alone be with them. So I didn't like Amy as much in Sonic Battle, but instead, I started liking Rouge a lot more and thought she was a really cool character. And I even wanted to be like her. I wanted to have the confidence that she had. I found it so intriguing that she wasn't a good guy, but she wasn't a villain either. And I liked that she was doing things for herself. I loved her voice clips as well. Honestly, I loved everything about her. Rouge may have awakened something in me, but that's another discussion for another time. Once Amy is alone with Emerl, Rouge takes this opportunity to steal him. But Amy isn't going down without a fight. Rouge has no choice but to battle Amy, which is a bit challenging considering Amy has quick and powerful attacks. But once Amy is defeated, Rouge takes Emerl to Club Rouge, located in Night Babylon, a Vegas-inspired hub world. The Encyclopedia describes it as a glitzy entertainment district that is home to Rouge's nightclub. This map is located north of Central City. In addition to Club Rouge, you have a hotel, a bar, a movie theater, and a casino. There's something about the music that was captivating to me. As an 8-year-old girl, I didn't have the exact words to describe this track, but it sounded very adult to me. I felt like I shouldn't be listening to this, but there I was playing as Rouge. Many years later, Night Babylon's atmosphere and music still feels very risque to me. Interestingly, exploring Shogun Studios from Paper Mario the Origami King sounds somewhat similar to Night Babylon. It's most likely a coincidence, but it immediately caught my attention when I played Origami King for the first time. On a brief tangent, I just want to add, the way Sonic Battle lays out their locations is everything I could ever want in a place to live. I'd love to just live in an apartment downtown, but also be fairly close to the beach. And if I wanted to, I have the option to go sightseeing or just go out and enjoy the nightlife. What a perfect place to live. But could you imagine the cost of living? It must be so high. I understand that most fans don't really care for the hub worlds, but I personally appreciate these cosmetic features. In my opinion, it adds additional depth to the storytelling and world building. It gives you a visual of where Sonic and friends live when they're just hanging out. Details like these are not necessary to make a good game, but they certainly make a game more memorable. I personally feel these details are worth discussing and deserve some appreciation. As we approach the club, Rouge makes this interesting comment. Apparently, Shadow is crashing at her place and he's just sleeping. I found this very intriguing as a kid, and I thought something might be going on between these two. Yes, I shipped Shadow and Rouge together for this moment alone. Many years later, when I was playing more Sonic games, I stopped shipping them, mainly because they don't seem to feel that way about each other. I still think it's a cute pair, but I ship these two with other characters now. Rouge and Emerl begin to train, and she teaches him how to not get hit when carrying treasure, defeating a guard robo, and becoming a skilled fighter. I have to say, I did struggle with not getting hit, but that was because I didn't realize that you didn't have to fight Rouge, you could have just kept running away. But anyway. As we get through each training, Emerl starts to miss Sonic, and he wants to be around him. Rouge repeatedly tells Emerl that this is his new home now and to get used to it. To briefly talk about Club Rouge, this was my most played stage as a kid for many reasons. I loved the pinball aesthetic and how flashy everything looked. And of course, the music is catchy and suits Rouge perfectly. It was my favorite track to listen to as a kid. After the training, they leave Night Babylon and make their way to Central City. Unfortunately for Rouge, they run into Amy, and she's not going anywhere until she gets Emerl back. After Amy is defeated, she begins to hallucinate about Sonic, and her Sonic hallucination becomes real, and we have to fight him as well. What the hell is going on? I'm not going to lie, I feel like the writers made Amy to be the butt of the joke, but in a different way than Knuckles. Knuckles is gullible, but he's a lovable himbo. Amy, on the other hand, is written out to be crazy in more ways than one, and I'm not a fan of that. It feels mean-spirited to me. It doesn't sit right with me that Amy is hallucinating over Sonic, but we'll discuss more about Amy's character writing in her chapter. Amy has passed out, so Rouge and Emerl head to the jewelry shop in Emerald Town. Rouge successfully steals the Chaos Emerald and admires her latest treasure. Unfortunately, Emerl absorbs the Chaos Emerald and he becomes much stronger and can speak in full sentences now. He notices Sonic approaching and gets excited. Rouge wonders how Sonic even found them, and he said it was a hedgehog's hunch. Cute. Sonic asks Rouge what she was doing with Emerl and that he won't let her off easy. So they battle over Emerl, but after that, Rouge takes on Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all at once. Even though it's super challenging, I love this battle because it demonstrates how strong Rouge is. She is such a baddie. I love her. But since Emerl stole her Chaos Emerald, she's kinda over it and lets Sonic have him back. She tells him, "Good luck, Daddy," as Amy approaches to save her baby. Again, love the writing. Even though her plan failed, this isn't the last we see of Rouge the Bat. In the third journal log, Professor Gerald managed to translate another piece of the ancient stone tablet. Quote, "I now understand why this being was named the Gazoid. In ancient tongue, it means everything. Despite lacking the Chaos Emerald energy, the Gazoid still attempts to communicate with Gerald and form a link with him. Quote, as it suggested, I brought before it my collection of model guns and fired them all. Then it suddenly said, I shall follow your every command and never leave your side. And then it refuses to listen to anyone but me. Gerald realizes the amount of destruction the Gazoid is capable of. He fears what would happen if someone with evil intentions established a link with the Gazoid and knew that he had to do something to prevent that from happening. This entry is quite fascinating. Gerald learns more about the Gazoid and realizes what kind of power he's dealing with, and knows that he needs to stop it from getting out of hand. Moving on to Knuckles' story, Knuckles is determined to train Emerl into a strong warrior and help him reach his full potential. Emerl is a warrior after his own heart, Knuckles says. He believes Emerl will never grow strong if Sonic keeps training him. So Knuckles heads to Emerald Town to pay Emerl a visit. At the same time, Eggman is determined to get Emerl back, and he releases his 5 robots to go search for him. I really enjoyed the writing in the beginning of the story. I really liked how the writers described Knuckles' passion turning from a spark and into a flame. Knuckles finds Emerl with Tails, and he's quite surprised to see Emerl speaking in full sentences. Because Emerl is mostly around Sonic and Tails, his personality is a mix between brash and polite. Knuckles isn't a big fan of this, but he still wants to spend more time with Emerl and train him. They get interrupted by the breaking news announcement and learn that Eggman's robots are robbing stores in Night Babylon. This inspires Knuckles to take Emerl with him and stop Eggman's robots himself. So Knuckles and Emerl make their way to Night Babylon. You do run into Gamma in Central City, but there's nothing really to note from that interaction. As soon as they arrive, Knuckles and Emerl check on one of the shopkeepers. Unfortunately, the store clerk mistakes Emerl for one of Eggman's robots and calls for guard robos to escort them from the premises. Knuckles and Emerl have no choice but to fight the guard robos and escape. This portion of Knuckles' chapter is quite infamous to a lot of players. At some point, Knuckles loses Emerl and he has to search for him. But he has trouble finding him, and people assume that Knuckles is associated with Eggman's robots. Why doesn't anybody listen to me? Oh, poor Knuckles. He cannot catch a break. This is where my childhood journey with Sonic Battle had ended. I could not make it past the guard robos as Knuckles, so I just gave up. It wasn't until 7 to 8 years later where I developed a strategy on how to beat the guard robos. Basically, I would choose ground trap and air power for Knuckles and spam those as much as I could. I mostly use the trap attacks because it makes it easier to evade when you need to. But if the guard robos are immune to trap attacks, I switch to my power attacks. I don't use the 4-hit combo as Knuckles anymore. While Knuckles does pack a punch, his moveset is on the slow side, making it easier to get attacked by your opponents, which is why the guard robo fights were so difficult. I can definitely understand and relate to the frustrations gamers and critics felt when playing through Knuckles' story. It isn't good design when a lot of players can't make it past a certain portion of the game. Given that we're about halfway through the story mode, that's a lot of content players are missing out on, which is a shame. If Sonic Battle ever gets ported, I hope they can adjust Knuckles' playstyle to make it easier for people, or at least have 1 guard robo to fight instead of 3. But for now, I'm sticking with my ground traps and power attacks. But eventually, the guard robos reach their limit and can't take any more ground traps. Knuckles is free. We are free. We push through and finally continue the story. Knuckles finally finds Emerl, and he's just hanging out with Rouge, having a good time training with her. Rouge and Knuckles share a little romantic moment, though a bit one-sided, but we finally leave Night Babylon. It felt like I was stuck there for 8 years. Man, does it feel good to hear the Emerald Town music again. Knuckles and Emerl finally meet up with Tails. Emerl asks if Tails has been a good boy. Tails returns the question, and Emerl lets out a triumphant, "Heck yeah!" This response surprises Tails for some reason. I think the writers intended Emerl to say, "Hell yeah," but you know, you gotta keep it E for everyone. Knuckles shows Tails the emerald shards they've collected from Night Babylon. Tails explains that if they can collect the remaining emerald shards, he can fix them into its original Chaos Emerald so Emerl can absorb it. He also notes that if Eggman is powering his robots with emerald shards, then he's definitely on the search for Emerl. Knuckles has the idea to take Emerl to the beach so he can teach him how to defeat Eggman. After they leave, Tails comments about how Emerl definitely isn't getting smarter. Personally, this is my favorite part of Knuckles' story. Knuckles is not holding back anymore, and it's time to see who is the strongest warrior. We have a 1 KO battle, the ultimate fight. In this footage, I had a rare skill equipped as my ground power attack, and it's just hilarious to see Knuckles get taken down. Suddenly, Eggman appears and interrupts their moment of camaraderie. He comments on how the Gazoid has come a long way, but Emerl doesn't seem to remember Eggman. Eggman demands that Emerl respect him and unleashes his Phi robot to capture him, but Knuckles and Emerl easily defeat it. Eggman then makes a hasty retreat. Knuckles and Emerl chase after him and fight another Phi robot in Central City. One thing I find really sweet is when Knuckles calls Emerl his battle partner. Even though Emerl pushes his buttons, it's nice to see that Knuckles bonds with him and even considers him as an equal. Little do they know this is all a part of Eggman's plan. Before he retreats, he makes it abundantly clear that he'll be in the Gimme Shelter located in Night Babylon. Well, Knuckles and Emerl follow Eggman, and of course, it's a trap. When I was recording footage for this, I was very surprised that there was more to Knuckles' chapter and completely forgot about this part. I don't play through Knuckles' story very much, so I forgot how lengthy it is. It took me almost an hour to finish it. Eggman uses his Hedgehog Begone trap on Knuckles, and he is paralyzed. Knuckles begs Emerl to find a switch that can turn off the trap. But Emerl plays around and teases Knuckles about not being strong enough to break through the trap himself. This motivates Knuckles to try and break free, but Emerl conveniently finds a switch, and this causes him to crash into the wall. The Gimme Shelter map is similar to Eggman's lair in Sonic Adventure. You can even see disassembled parts from his E100 robots. Like most of the soundtrack, the music is very catchy. It's very fitting for an Eggman theme, and it also gives that sense of mystery. The Metal Depot stage is located in the Gimme Shelter as well. I mentioned earlier that Metal Depot is one of the arenas that didn't age very well, in my opinion. But like Battle Highway, I think it has more to do with the abundance of gray used in the stage. It makes sense considering the name Metal Depot. It's supposed to be a dull and dingy storage facility, and I'm willing to give that a pass. I don't think Eggman was very concerned with the aesthetic of his storage space. This isn't the first time you hear the arena's music in the story mode. Oftentimes the Metal Depot music will play when you're fighting against guard robos. I really like the introduction to this track and the guitar riffs associated with it. The track itself sounds very intense and threatening. It definitely suits Gamma and the guard robos. Knuckles and Emerl make it back to Tails' lab and give him the remaining Emerald Shard pieces. Knuckles whispers to Emerl and asks to keep what happened at the Gimme Shelter a secret. Of course, Emerl doesn't really know the meaning of the word secret, and he spills everything to Sonic and Tails. Poor Knuckles is frustrated and probably embarrassed. While Knuckles has the most frustrating chapter, his story does have a cute and heartwarming ending. Journal entry number 4 is very brief. Gerald fears that Project Shadow will be shut down soon, and he is in a hurry to find a cure for his granddaughter Maria. Oh, Amy's story. Before I continue, I must issue a trigger warning for eating disorders. Amy's chapter begins with her trying to figure out where Sonic is. She runs into Tails and demands him to tell her where Sonic is because her tarot cards stated he was there. And you know the tarot cards are never wrong. Amy gets frustrated that Sonic is ignoring her and wants him to do better with raising Emerl. She reassures herself and assumes that Sonic is just having cold feet, and thinks how cute that is. Isn't cold feet a bad thing? Like, you don't want him having cold feet at the altar, honey. Amy chases after Sonic and Emerl to the beach. Sonic is clearly uncomfortable to be around Amy, but Emerl is at least happy to see her. Amy is impressed with how much Emerl has learned since she last saw him. But when she asked how he was doing, his response was a bit inappropriate. Well, you know, I'm chillin', sweetheart. Amy isn't happy with Emerald's forward and flirty nature. She hits Sonic, and it's no wonder that a lot of fans hated Amy during this time. After the release of Sonic Heroes, a lot of fans were turned off by her obsession over Sonic, and it gets much worse in battle. It honestly feels like you aren't supposed to like her character in this game. Again, the writing feels more mean-spirited compared to other Sonic games, even Sonic 06. Yes, she's still head over heels for Sonic, but she still has some likable qualities. In Sonic Battle, she doesn't really have any of that going for her. Amy takes Emerl to her apartment, and Amy wants to train with Emerl. Amy's room has a bunch of furniture with Amy's face plastered on it, and there's a heart-shaped rug of Sonic at the bottom right corner of the arena. There's also a Chow rug on the right side of the arena as well. The Encyclopedia describes it as, quote, overloaded with frills and hearts, this is Amy's training ground. As a kid, I actually thought that this was Amy's bedroom and not some training ground. I always had so many questions like, where's her bed? And why does she need so many dressers? I mean, they look like dressers with all the hearts on it. I wasn't sure what else they could be. I do like the floor design with the pink diamonds, and overall, it's a really cute room. As for the music, it perfectly matches Amy. It sounds very cutesy and peppy, but also stays on brand for a Sonic battle track. This is where we get into the eating disorder territory, so if you're uncomfortable with that, please skip to this portion of the video. Moving on, after Rouge stole Emerl, Amy was determined to get stronger and take up boxercising. While this training made her stronger, she also noticed that she was losing weight. She starts boxercising to maintain her figure and even trains with Cream, although Cream isn't too thrilled about it. Amy encourages Emerl to train with her while Cream sits things out. This honestly makes no sense to me. Looking at Amy's appearance, we can see that she's already quite thin, not to mention she's 12 years old. After all, this game came out shortly after Sonic Heroes. Kids that age should not have to worry about losing weight. If anything, kids are growing and gaining weight during this stage, and I just find it sad that the writers are having Amy obsess over this. But even if Amy was older and, say, in her 20s, that still doesn't make it okay. Regardless of what age the writers intended her to be, she still has an unhealthy weight loss obsession and has put herself in a dangerous situation. She's actually harming herself over this, as she's on the brink of passing out. We later discovered that Amy has been wearing weights while she's been training with Emerl. And again, I have to ask, why are the writers doing this? Of course, it's important to exercise, but training excessively is not healthy for anybody and can really damage your body. The problem is, the writers treat it as a joke, and it really doesn't sit right with me. With that being said, I typically skip Amy's story. Her obsession with getting married to Sonic and staying thin makes me really uncomfortable. I genuinely like Amy, especially in recent games, but I think she's at her worst here. After the training, Amy and Emerl run into Gamma and they fight him for an Emerald Shard. They also visit Night Babylon because Emerl senses another Chaos Emerald in the area. They run into Rouge and they learn that Chaos Emerald belongs to Shadow. Rouge warns Amy that once Shadow is fully recovered, he will go after Emerl. Not much additional information is revealed in Amy's story, and I hate to be a downer, but I just can't stand this part of the story. But in my opinion, the worst part is In the beginning of Cream's story, Cream and Emerl are hanging out with Amy, and she is focused on losing weight. Emerl is keeping track of her diet, and she is eating an insanely low amount of calories. A human being could not possibly survive on this diet, let alone a 12-year-old girl. And don't tell me she's a hedgehog, it's different. This is like borderline pro-Anna content, and I'm sure the writers weren't intending for that, but that's how the message comes across. It's not feasible to lose so many pounds within a week, and this doesn't send a good message to kids. Diet culture is so ingrained in our society. Children can pick up on it and feel that they need to be skinny to be accepted. And while a few of the Sonic characters do act uncomfortable around Amy, the writers don't do a good job with explicitly stating that what Amy is doing is wrong. Cream acts uncomfortable in certain moments, but in the next scene she tells Emerl that sometimes you'll do anything for the person you love. And it sets the wrong message for kids, especially young girls. I understand that kids are smart and can pick up on a lot of things, but with how diet-obsessed American culture was in the early 2000s, it makes it harder for kids to determine what is healthy and what isn't. Amy's weight loss mentality was similar to what you would see in The Biggest Loser, an American reality show that was popular in the 2000s, but has recently received an increase in backlash and criticism due to the promotion of unsustainable weight loss practices and lack of regard for the contestants. Speaking for myself, I desired to stay thin at a very young age and felt that my worth was tied to my weight. It took me until my mid-20s to completely escape that mindset, and admittedly, I still struggle with body image every now and then. If I had managed to make it past Knuckles' story and played through Amy's story as a kid, I probably would have believed that what Amy was doing was the right thing to do. Sonic Battle is nearly 20 years old and hasn't been ported to any new systems, so I sincerely doubt that young kids are going out of their way to play it in this day and age. But if SEGA had plans to port Sonic Battle, I would hope that they would make adjustments to Amy's story. At least demonstrate why extreme dieting is wrong. It's not censoring, it's just acknowledging that mistakes were made and fixing them. I feel that this is important to say. I, of course, love Sonic Battle, but I think Amy's subplot should not go unnoticed and should be openly discussed. Sonic characters have always had a major influence on kids, especially back in the 2000s. Lots of young girls love Amy Rose. I previously mentioned the impact that Rouge the Bat had on me as a kid. Even Cream the Rabbit has had an impact on me. One of the things that makes Sonic so loved is how we relate and connect to the characters. So it's important to be critical of when good children's media send the wrong message. And don't take this as me saying they deserve to be canceled. A lot of popular children's media have made mistakes or sent the wrong message. It's still okay to enjoy and appreciate them as a whole, but we should be open to hearing out criticism, especially from communities that have been affected by it. For the most part, I think the character writing for all the Sonic characters have been solid and consistent throughout the years. Again, despite my issues with Amy's story, I still love Sonic Battle and how Sonic Team wrote the other characters. At this point, I just pretend Amy's subplot doesn't exist. Anyway, I think I've talked about this for way too long. Starting Cream's story for real, Dr. Eggman kidnaps Emerl and Cream and plans to use them as bait to capture Sonic. Emerl and Cream try to find a way to escape so they can prevent Sonic from getting trapped with Eggman's Hedgehog Be Gone invention. Cream and Emerl run into some of Eggman's robots and they have no choice but to fight back. However, Cream doesn't feel comfortable with fighting, even out of self-defense. The reason being is that Cream doesn't like seeing others get hurt or being sad. In battles, she will just stand there and not fight back, even while getting hurt. Despite her stance on fighting, Cream feels guilty that she didn't fight back and also seeing Emerl get hurt. She knows that she's wrong for not fighting back, but she still can't bring herself to fight others out of self-defense. Emerl assures her that she isn't doing anything wrong and fights for the two of them. But as Emerl continues to fight the Phi clones, he becomes invested in it and takes enjoyment from destroying Eggman's robots. He most likely picked that up from Sonic and Knuckles. Cream begins to cry and begs Emerl to stop acting that way. Emerl asks if Cream is sad and apologizes to her. While Cream accepts his apology and tells him that he didn't do anything wrong, you can tell that she felt uncomfortable with Emerl being so happy destroying Eggman's robots. Now, some may point out that Cream didn't seem to have a problem with fighting in Sonic Advance 2, and I initially thought about this as well. But she was mainly fighting against Eggman for the sake of rescuing her mother. Speaking of Cream's mom, Vanilla the Rabbit, I'm sure Cream has learned a lot of her values from her mother, like caring for others and not making them sad, which in a way conflicts with self-defense and fighting back. Even though she is the most overpowered Sonic character, Sonic Team did not intend Cream to be a fighter. The reason why she has Cheese the Chow is because the developers felt like having a Chow attack on her behalf would keep her nice and sweet persona. They didn't want to sully her innocent image, and it's interesting to see them build upon it in Cream's chapter. Cream and Emerl find the duct key and try to make their escape, but unfortunately they run into Gamma. This time, Emerl does not fight back. Cream questions why Emerl isn't doing anything, but Emerl tells her to take cover. As Gamma attacks Emerl, Cream realizes that refusing to fight back is only going to get more people hurt. Cream and Cheese finally gain the courage to fight back and battle Gamma. After winning the battle, Cream and Emerl retreat for the time being and decide to train together and get stronger. And once Cream feels ready, they return to Gamma and fight him to escape. Gamma goes berserk after being defeated. Cream asks him what exactly he's fighting for. Gamma reveals that he wants revenge for getting his Chaos Emerald taken away from him, his power. Cream responds with these surprisingly wise words, quote, "Power isn't something you can give or take. It's something you use to defend those that are dear to you." These words really resonated with me, especially coming from Cream. To me, this goes beyond just defending those who are dear to you, but also looking out for yourself. Shout out to Cream's mom, she really raised her well. It's also nice to see Cream becoming comfortable with fighting out of self-defense and not feel guilty for it. Gamma becomes out of commission and loses the last Emerald Shard. All of the broken pieces form into a Chaos Emerald. Emerl absorbs his 6th Chaos Emerald and becomes even more powerful. He describes this energy as feeling sharper. Cream overhears Eggman complaining about his robots. She notices a switch, and Emerl recognizes it from when he and Knuckles were trapped in the Gimme Shelter. Emerl tells Cream to flip the switch. Eggman gets stuck in his Hedgehog Begone trap, and it's all caught in 4K for Sonic to see. Cream, Emerl, and Sonic share a laugh, and that concludes Cream's story. This is much shorter compared to other chapters, but I still enjoyed it. I love Cream the Rabbit, and I'm glad she got her own mini character arc in this game. Now, I missed covering Journal Entry 5 in Amy's story because I didn't want to detract the eating disorder conversation. Professor Gerald writes, "The higher-ups are threatening to shut down this research facility. I had no choice but to hand them the Gazoid to buy more time for my research. I tried to be careful and commanded it to never absorb any dangerous technologies. However, I have heard that other researchers have been making the Gazoid absorb weapons. Apparently, the way to cause the Gazoid to form a new link is to show it power that surpasses that of its former master. While this poses immense danger, I cannot risk losing Maria." In journal entry number 6, Professor Gerald's nightmares have come true. The Gazoid absorbed enough weapons to nearly destroy the Ark. Professor Gerald managed to decipher the last of the stone tablet. Quote, "When the Gazoid had learned all that it could, it became a god of wrath, and all was destroyed. Thankfully, the researchers managed to subdue the Gazoid, and Professor Gerald is attempting to develop a free-willed, emotions-based AI to prevent this event from happening again. But unfortunately, Professor Gerald is running out of time, and Gunn is becoming increasingly hostile and suspicious of him." I enjoy reading these 2 journal entries in particular because we get to see a glimpse of Professor Gerald's history and what it was like to work in the Space Colony Ark. We can see that politics have a huge influence on the researchers and, unfortunately, on Gerald's livelihood. At the time, Gunn seemed interested in researching war machines instead of finding cures, and I have to say, this sounds all too familiar to me. Shadow story. Oh yes. One of my favorite chapters in this game. We come to better understand Shadow as a character and his motivations. We discover why he felt obligated to destroy Emerl, and Shadow discovers something within himself. Shadow hears a voice calling out for him. It tells him that this tragedy must not happen again, and this power must be destroyed. Shadow uses Chaos Control to find the emanation, and he appears in Dr. Eggman's lab and sees Emerl for the first time. This takes place well before Eggman tossed Emerl away. Rouge is also there, searching for intel on Eggman's plans. She discovered that the Gazoid is some type of weapon and is over 4,000 years old. Alarms go off, and Shadow and Rouge are surrounded by Eggman's guard robos. They successfully fight them off and are able to make their leave. But unfortunately, Shadow gets electrocuted by Eggman's guard robo and is knocked out. Rouge takes him to Club Rouge and he rests there. During this time, Shadow would go from sleeping to looking for the Gazoid to sleeping again. Shadow has what I think would be fever dreams. He dreams of Sonic and the interactions they've had together. He also dreams about his battle with Tails and what he warned him of. Shadow wakes up and is finally recovered. Rouge greets the sweet prince, but Shadow doesn't have time to chat and he wants to find Emerl. Poor Rouge, she's letting Shadow live rent-free and doesn't so much get a hello. She calls him out on that and reminds him that she's the one who dragged him over here. Shadow thanks Rouge for saving him. How nice. Rouge then tells him that he can find Emerl and Sonic at Emerald Beach. I like this little moment between Shadow and Rouge. Even though they work together throughout the games, we don't see many moments of them just being friends or allies, as Shadow puts it. Shadow rushes to Emerl's location, only to find his troublesome rival. Ah yes, the beach scene. This is one of my favorite interactions between Sonic and Shadow. Keep in mind, the last time Sonic and Shadow saw each other was in Sonic's story. Sonic is surprised to see Shadow, though Shadow is not one for small talk. He gets straight to the point and asks where Emerl is. Interestingly, Sonic tells Shadow where Emerl is, despite the fact that Shadow attempted to destroy Emerl a couple of times. Sonic casually starts a conversation with his rival and tries to pick his brain a little bit. Surprisingly, Shadow is very candid with Sonic and tells him that he's here to welcome Emerl as a fellow weapon of war. He explains that Emerl's awakening is very close as he now has 6 Chaos Emeralds with him. Once he obtains the last Chaos Emerald, Emerl's destructive state will be awakened. Sonic is still in disbelief that Emerl could be dangerous. He even reminds Shadow of the time when he tried to destroy the world but came to his senses. He says, weapons aren't supposed to have hearts, but both you and Emerl do. I find this line to be very interesting. Sonic sees a different side of Shadow. He goes on to say, you guys, you aren't just weapons. Shadow means something to Sonic. Sonic is showing some vulnerability here, and that isn't something he does very much. It always baffles me when Sonic fans claim that Sonic and Shadow hate each other. I mean, I guess if you only played Sonic Boom or just watched the Twitter takeovers, then it would seem that way. But their relationship in the main Sonic games have a lot of nuance. And while they may be rivals, there are many instances that show they really care about each other. This scene in particular really highlights that. Sonic, in his own way, tries to console Shadow and assure him that he and Emerl both have hearts and they're more than just weapons. Sonic genuinely believes that Shadow has a heart. You wouldn't say that about someone you hated. And if Shadow truly hated Sonic, then he wouldn't even be engaging in this conversation. Again, Shadow is naturally reclusive, and yet he opens up and shares all this information with him. This moment feels so intimate, and I don't mean that in a super romantic way, but it certainly feels delicate. that wall that Shadow hid behind was slowly coming down at this moment. Oh god, did I really just quote 500 Days of Summer? I am so sorry. Shadow denies Sonic's words and insists that he's wrong. To Sonic's surprise, he even says that he should have never been created. Sonic shows compassion to Shadow and wants to show him that there's more to his existence than being a weapon. But Sonic also knows when to just step back and let Shadow figure things out for himself. At this moment, Sonic realizes that Shadow isn't going to listen to him no matter how much he cares. He makes one more case and says that both Shadow and Emerl have hearts, and he doesn't believe that either of them have it in them to kill anyone and that the two should just play games together. Emerl suddenly appears and he detects Shadow's Chaos Emerald. He begins to go berserk and is hungry for that last Chaos Emerald. Sonic is caught off guard by this, while Shadow feels vindicated because Emerl's behavior proves his point. Sonic realizes that Shadow may be correct and gives Emerl permission to follow Shadow so they can uncover his past together. Shadow and Emerl head to Eggman's gimme shelter. They run into Gamma and have to battle him for the upteenth time. I found this piece of dialogue to be interesting. As Gamma malfunctions, Shadow tells Emerl that this is the fate of weapons of war. Emerl takes it in and tells Shadow that he feels sad. And all Shadow can say is, "I know." There's something about this moment that is gut-wrenching and chilling. Watching Gamma malfunction and being so driven to destroy Emerl. And yet Emerl feels pity for Gamma, and you can see him displaying some of Cream's characteristics. Also, seeing both Emerl and Shadow accepting the cruel reality of being a weapon is extremely saddening to me. It's a minor moment that always stuck out to me. As they arrive at the gimme shelter, they approach Eggman's mother computer and Shadow asks, "Why is it that we have hearts? Why do we have souls?" I find it intriguing that Shadow asks this question. Earlier, Shadow denies Sonic's belief about him having a heart. It seems like Sonic actually got through to Shadow, and it's heartwarming to see. He even subtly repeats that phrase in Sonic Forces. Whether it's a coincidence or not, I think it's really neat that the phrase carries over many years later. Rouge appears and tells Shadow and Emerl the excerpt she has found from Professor Gerald's journal logs. Professor Gerald performed Chaos Emerald experiments on Emerl and learned about his unstable nature when stimulated by overwhelming power. But he wasn't interested in creating destructive weapons. Gerald's true purpose was to bring happiness to others and find a cure for Maria. Rouge explains that Professor Gerald programmed Shadow and Emerl to have a soul that is identical to Maria's. And we can see some of Maria's characteristics in both Emerl and Shadow. Despite being created for war efforts, Emerl is nice and caring about others, and that's mainly due to him being under the care of Sonic and friends. We see that Shadow is not a robot. He has rare moments of weakness and vulnerability. But just because Shadow was programmed to have a soul similar to Maria's doesn't mean that defines who he is. Shadow has gone through his own personal hardships, and those have changed his outlook on life and his own values. In addition to finding Gerald's journal logs, Rouge successfully discovered the code that will stop Emerl from destroying others with all 7 Chaos Emeralds. Quote, "Bring hope to humanity." Shadow is touched by this, and he finally gets the true closure he needed. Shadow gives his Chaos Emerald to Emerl. Rouge is surprised by this, but Shadow explains that Maria will always be in his heart. Before Emerl's destructive state is awakened, Shadow commands him to bring hope to humanity. Emerl is himself again, and he tells Shadow not to go all serious on him. "Emerl, do you know who you're talking to?" Shadow comments about how Emerl sounds a little too familiar, but also lets him know that he's free and Eggman can't control him any longer. Shadow is free as well. He's free from the chains of his past. I've noticed fans that are unhappy with Shadow because he doesn't bring up Maria or doesn't keep the promise he made to her, but I don't see anything wrong with it. Realistically, death in the family is very hard to deal with, especially if you were really close. But as time goes on, you begin to move on as well. You don't think about them every day, and you're not as sad when they cross your mind. It doesn't mean that you don't love them anymore, or that they're not important. It means that you're healing and you're living your life again. I don't think Maria would want Shadow to live a life where he's constantly doing things just for her. I don't think anyone would want that for their loved one. He's letting himself live the life that he wants to live. I like that he's doing things for himself, not for Maria or Sonic or Rouge. Shadow and Emerl have one epic battle in Eggman's gimme shelter. Which, honestly, it makes me wonder where Eggman is in all this, but whatever. It's best not to think about it. We play as Shadow and win this fight, but Shadow isn't quite satisfied with just one battle. But Emerl would rather see his friends again. Shadow likes that idea and tells Emerl to battle everyone he knows. Once he's done with that, they will have their rematch in Battle Highway. After completing this quest, Emerl meets up with Shadow. This time we play as Emerl and we defeat Shadow. Sonic shows up because he figured Shadow wouldn't be enough of a challenge. Shadow comments on how Sonic and Emerl both sound alike. Sonic insists that Emerl take him and Shadow on at the same time. In my opinion, this just goes to show how strong Emerl has become. He can take on two of the strongest characters. After the battle, Emerl profusely thanks Sonic and Shadow and how both of them made a huge impact on his life. And because of them, he can feel happiness and experience true friendship. Not one to be sentimental, Shadow storms off and claims that weapons shouldn't have feelings. Sonic calls after Shadow and tells him to be more honest with himself.
Ha! Gay!
Huh. I'm always so amused with their interactions, but that's another story for another time. Journal log number 7 is a brief but sad entry. The gun raid happened, and Professor Gerald discovered that Maria was among the list of casualties. Apparently, her parting words were, "Bring hope to humanity." Professor Robotnik uses Maria's last words as the key to activate the Gazoid's free-willed, emotions-based AI. As I mentioned earlier, this is one of my favorite chapters in the game. I love the interactions between Sonic and Shadow and getting to see them understand each other better. I love that Shadow gets full closure with himself and is more comfortable with who he is. Despite Sonic Battle being released before Shadow the Hedgehog, I think Battle is that perfect missing piece that fits in between Shadow 05 and Sonic 06. There were things that went unexplained in Shadow the Hedgehog, but Sonic Battle tied up those loose ends. In addition, it makes for a smoother character progression. In Sonic 06, we see that Shadow is more sure of himself and his decisions. He's not easily manipulated like he was in Shadow the Hedgehog. I think him bonding with Sonic, Rouge, and Emerl helped him get to that point. Also, having that true closure about how he was created. Shadow the Hedgehog's ending gives closure of what happened in Shadow's past, but doesn't fully answer what exactly he is. It didn't explain why he has a conscience and emotions. In my opinion, Shadow is one of the best written characters in Sonic Battle, and his chapter is the second most memorable in the game, just behind Emerald's story. The final chapter. Eggman is processing his latest defeat. All of his robots are destroyed. Emerl has all of the Chaos Emeralds. Things aren't looking too well for the Doctor, but he hasn't given up just yet. Eggman has one last trick up his sleeve. He visits Sonic and Emerl at the beach and gloats about his latest magnificent plan. He claims that the Death Egg's power is fully restored, and he's going to use it and blackmail the entire world so he can become Earth's supreme ruler. As he leaves, Sonic comments about how fired up Eggman seems about this, but Tails is apprehensive to the idea of Sonic and Emerl going after Eggman because of how brazen he is about his plan. To Tails, it seems like some kind of trap. Knuckles also points out that Chaos randomly appeared as well, and he suspects it's due to Eggman. The transporter is charging and can only send one person to the Death Egg. Emerl volunteers to go so he can thank Eggman personally for tossing him out on the beach, inevitably making him cross paths with Sonic. Before you decide to visit the Death Egg, you have the opportunity to train with Sonic and friends. This is probably the best time for you to grind for any skills that you're missing. The only problem is the types of skills that Emerl captures are random, so you might find yourself battling a certain character several times until you get that specific skill you're looking for. You can also battle Chaos in the Holy Summit. He's not much for conversation, but after you win a fight with Chaos, you unlock him and can play as him in the battle and challenge modes. Chaos is my least played character. He is powerful, but very slow, which makes battles pretty challenging when you play as him. Playing against him can be difficult if you're not good with dodging attacks. When you least expect it, he'll just one-hit kill you, just like that. Chaos has his own battle theme, and it's very good. It's rock heavy and sounds quite intimidating. It's reminiscent of Chaos's battle theme from Sonic Adventure. The theme that typically plays in the Holy Summit Crater Arena is actually one of my favorite tracks in the game. It's very snappy and catchy. I don't just want to bob my head to it, I want to break into a dance routine when this song plays, and I don't even know how to dance. It's hard to tell with the Game Boy Advance sound chip, but I think the composers were going for a jazz rock hybrid with some hip hop influences. This is such an underrated track, and nobody ever talks about it. I think it's one of the best in Sonic Battle, and I would love to hear a modern rendition of this track. Another thing you can do is virtual training at Tails' lab. Emerl fights 3 random opponents in a random battle arena for each round. Your opponents start with 1 extra life as each round progresses. For example, in round 1, everyone has 1 life. In round 7, everyone has 7 lives. The virtual training ends when you get knocked out, regardless of how many lives you have. I think after 10 rounds, you unlock a very rare skill. These skills are very overpowered, and they do cost a lot of skill points to use. I've only managed to win 2 special skills from this virtual training. It can be really hard if you have Amy and/or Gamma as one of your opponents. The first 5 rounds are pretty easy, but it's when you get to like round 8 where things start to get challenging because you can't die. And if you do get knocked out, you have to start all over. Virtual training is also a decent way to grind for skills, especially if you need a lot of skills from different characters. The story does not progress until you go to the Death Egg. This is its own map that takes place in space, and you can see Eggman standing there waiting for Emerl. The music is like a fusion of techno and rock. I think it's techno. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at describing specific music genres. It's very on brand for an Eggman theme, and personally, parts of the track evokes a feeling of uneasiness. I definitely listened to this in the sound test quite a bit when I was a kid. There are a few similarities between this track and the Terminal Velocity map from Sonic Colors. Both tracks balance this mix of sounding mysterious and fervent. Once Emerl is transported there, he confronts Eggman and they battle it out. This battle is really hard, especially if you don't have good skills equipped for Emerl. Eggman will spam multiple bombs at you before you can manage to get a hit in. My strategy is basically to use Rouge's Agent Eagle attack and stay in the air as much as possible. As soon as Eggman goes down, fly away as far as you can so you can avoid getting hurt from the explosion. After losing both battles, Eggman feigns defeat and begs Emerl for mercy. Emerl uses this as an opportunity to reason with Eggman and let him know that he could be a better person. But Eggman uses his final cannon blaster to destroy a cluster of stars. This overwhelming power surpasses that of Emerl's initial link with Sonic. This triggers Emerl's original destructive programming. As Professor Gerald's journal entries foretold, the Gazoid had learned all that it could, and it became a god of wrath. Emerl's systems go haywire, and he manages to override the final cannon blaster and launch it at the Earth. Of course, this was not what Eggman wanted, and he tries to stop Emerl. Unfortunately, Emerl is not only overpowered by capturing all of the destructive energy, but he becomes extremely unstable and knocks out Eggman. Sonic and friends are completely shocked by this ordeal, but they realize they don't have a lot of time to act. Luckily for them, the Master Emerald appears and the transporter is ready, but only one person can use it. Shadow is in a state of shock and is unable to fight. He implores Sonic to go. The other characters comment about the situation and hope that Emerl will come back to his senses. Sonic transports himself to the Death Egg. He attempts to use the Master Emerald against Emerl, but it shatters into tiny pieces. Sonic has no choice but to fight Emerl one last time. One last party, he says. Sonic versus Emerl. I want to take the time and recognize the final battle music. You hear this in both the battle against Eggman and now against Emerl. In my opinion, it flawlessly captures the direness and urgency of the situation. It sounds intense and emotional, forceful and overwhelming, tragic. Again, this battle is insanely difficult. The hardest battle in the entire game by a long shot. As soon as Emerl attacks you, you have no time to dodge and you immediately lose a life. I rely on Sonic's shot and set attacks so that it's easier to evade. Yeah, I know I shouldn't be relying on special attacks all the time, but how else are you able to beat him? Honestly, I think it's impossible to beat him with just your standard attacks. You need special attacks to help you win the fight. I switch from using a ground shot attack to an air set attack, and I'll spam whichever one that Emerl isn't immune to. Things are extremely intense, and losing is not an option. The stakes are high. Emerl is arguably the most powerful being Sonic has encountered thus far, but you have to keep persevering for the sake of the planet. And when you finally hear that game set sound effect, you know that you won. It's over. Emerl snaps out of his destructive state, but he's still in an immense amount of pain. He wonders if he's going to die. Sonic calls out for Emerl and finally reaches through to him. He urges Emerl to come back home with him, but Emerl doesn't initially respond. He knows that he's not coming back. He tells Sonic that he's glad to have seen everyone one last time. He wishes Sonic to take good care of everyone and that he's going to miss everybody. He briefly ponders his existence. Sonic tries to convince Emerl and perhaps himself that everything is fine and Emerl's going to be okay. Everyone is waiting for him to come back home. Even Shadow and Knuckles are waiting to see Emerl return. Instead, he makes a beeping sound, and it reminds me of the sound of a heart monitor. But like you would imagine with most heart monitors, the beeping intensifies and then comes to a stop. A bright light flashes. Emerl has disappeared from existence. According to Shadow, Professor Gerald has programmed a self-destruct feature for any inventions that lose control of themselves. Everyone continues to reflect on what just happened. Everything feels so quiet and somber. Shadow desires to bring hope to humanity and prevent another tragedy like this from happening again. Cream begins to cry over Emerl's death. Sonic consoles Cream and tells her that Emerl will always be a part of them, and shows her a piece of an emerald shard. Tails reflects on Emerl's death and wonders about the future. He says, "Someday, if this world finally knows true peace, if this world no longer needs weapons or wars, if we can make this world a truly peaceful place when we're older, if we can make a world where there's only laughter, do you think we'll be able to play with Emerl again?" Oh my god. This is so heartbreaking. And yet, despite the terrible misfortune, Sonic believes that it's still possible. We close off with one last journal entry from Professor Gerald. "A heritage of the past I dug out, and the ultimate life form I created by my own hands, Shadow. I equipped both weapons with heart. If all powers are not what is to be obtained for oneself, but what is to be born from hearts that yearn for someone, I believe all conflicts should cease to exist. Please, if there's anyone listening to my prayers, bring hope to humanity." And that's it. That's the ending. When I finished Sonic Battle for the first time, I was caught off guard on how heart-wrenching this ending was. I remember being in tears. I still get tears when I watch the ending. The credits roll by and you can hear this wistful and somber tune playing. It sounds bittersweet, and I reflect on everything that happened as I watch each character pop up on the screen, and also having to come to terms with the ending and losing Emerl forever. But then the familiar, happy credits music plays, and we see Shadow with a warm smile on his face. It's as if the game is telling us that everything's going to be okay. I really like this artwork of Shadow smiling. There's just something really sweet about it. I like seeing the artwork of other characters showing up on the screen as well. Despite Sonic Battle having a bleak ending, Sonic and his friends seem inspired to make a better future. But to think that Emerl's last words were, "Shadow, should I be glad that I was born?" It's just completely heartbreaking. I wonder what Shadow was thinking when Emerl said that. And I always wondered how this would look and sound if it were animated and fully voice acted with the Dreamcast era voiceovers. I know it's a bit of a trade-off because it's on the Game Boy Advance, but what a sad, beautiful, tragic ending. I don't think anyone could have predicted Sonic Battle to end this way. There were other lines that stuck out to me during Emerl's chapter, one of them being from Shadow, quote, "This is the final voice of the last war machine. So begins the destruction of the earth, a natural result of ignorant human desires and greed." Not to be pessimistic, but I feel like this quote from Shadow explains humanity so perfectly, at least in terms of United States politicians and late-stage capitalism. Sonic Team wasn't afraid to get political back in the early 2000s. I suppose you could say they were a bit political in the 90s as well. From the very beginning, Sonic at his core is an environmentalist and hates oppression. But Sonic Battle has a strong anti-war and anti-imperialist message. Keep in mind, Sonic Battle was released several months after the United States got involved in the Iraq War. Perhaps it's just a coincidence, but I feel the parallels coincide just a bit too well. I obviously can't confirm what the writer's inspiration behind the story was. It's possible that Sonic Team may have been trying to communicate to younger generations that they can make a difference. We could be the generation that ends war and live in an era of peace. With lines like, "If the world no longer needs weapons or wars, if we can make this world a truly peaceful place when we're older, and it is my desire to bring hope to humanity," you can tell the writers were trying to communicate this anti-war message to its audience. I also wanted to say, even though most of the Sonic characters are teenagers, there was something very adult about them as a kid. Especially now, considering that Rouge has her own club, Amy has her own apartment. The deep conversation Sonic and Shadow shared feels very mature for their age. Yes, I know Shadow was in stasis for 50 years, but physically and mentally he acts the same age as Sonic. I mean, it's like Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think children's media in general write teenagers with some young adult qualities. It can be a double-edged sword, but what I appreciate about Sonic Battle's writing is that it finds a balance that makes the story enjoyable for kids, but also appeals to older teens and even adults. I really hope that SEGA does port Sonic Battle to newer consoles. This game is just so special and it deserves so much more spotlight and recognition. I understand the criticisms and I don't think this game is perfect by any means, but there's a lot to appreciate about Sonic Battle. The subversive and heartbreaking story, the detailed world building and character writing, the fresh, unique art style and amazing sprite animations. Even minor things like the additional information of each character's moveset and those charming sound effects. In my opinion, Sonic Battle is one of the most innovative Sonic games out there. SEGA really should consider making another battle-esque game. I think that Sonic Battle is like the Super Paper Mario of Sonic games. If you played Super Paper Mario, you know exactly what I mean. It's a game that is completely different from the rest, and perhaps not understood or even heard of by most of the fan base. Yet, it has a strong cult following and has one of the most beautiful stories in the series. A game that has strong character writing for nearly all of the characters. It's a game that has strong attention to detail with its character movesets, fighting animations, stage environments, and music. A game that I couldn't finish as a child, but rediscovered it as a teenager and was just blown away by the story and its message. A game with heart and soul.